The rise of neurotechnology calls for a parallel focus on neurorights. In Chile, the National Commission for Scientific and Technological Research has begun to debate a Neurorights invoice to be written into the nation's structure. The world, and most significantly the OECD, UNESCO and the United Nations, needs to be watching carefully. The Chilean invoice units out to guard the fitting to private identification, free will, psychological privateness, equitable entry to applied sciences that increase human capacities, and the fitting to safety in opposition to bias and discrimination. The landmark invoice can be the primary of its variety to pioneer a regulatory framework which protects human rights from the manipulation of mind exercise. The comparatively nascent idea of neurorights follows a quantity of latest medical improvements, most notably brain-computer interface expertise, BCI, which has the potential to revolutionize the sector of neuroscience. BCI-based remedy could also be helpful for post-stroke motor rehabilitation and could also be a potential methodology for the correct detection and therapy of neurological ailments comparable to Alzheimer's. Advocates declare there's subsequently a ethical crucial to make use of the expertise, given the advantages it may deliver. Others fear about its moral, ethical and societal penalties. Many, mistakenly, see this course as being doubtlessly undermined by untimely governance restrictions, or accuse any point out of brake mechanisms as an exaggerated response to an unlikely science fiction situation. However, if there's to be any doubt as to why regulatory frameworks must be put in place, we should study, not solely the pace of development and normalization of disruptive applied sciences, but additionally the promotional half-truths that encompass these new technological developments. In a related method to the evolution of exterior, non-invasive synthetic intelligence, we have to discover methods to navigate the complicated regulatory dynamics around privateness, legal responsibility, authenticity, equity and autonomy that exist on a human, financial, societal and geopolitical degree. This must be achieved whereas permitting room for the science to evolve, and whereas mitigating incorrect or implausible expectations about what potential therapies may obtain. Though we're making nice progress within the well-being care sector, we should acknowledge that modern milestones can be translated throughout the board and enter into commercialized client markets for the needs of video games and self-health monitoring. This will generate monumental quantities of precious information, some correct, some misguided, which can be within the palms of the businesses that personal this expertise, comparable to Neuralink and Kernel, which might profit from this entry in a lot the way in which Google has by means of its DeepMind program. This prospect raises regarding questions in regards to the big quantities of information that can be churned out by electroencephalograms or invasive units, and picked up by the firms behind them. Issues round safeguarding, accessibility and company monopolies run parallel with the considerations some establishments have raised round tech giants and AI. Neurotechnology additionally brings to the fore the added layer of epigenetic penalties, neuropsychiatric issues, and biohacking. This is why the idea of moral improvements is so vital. As outlined by the Neurorights initiative arranged by Columbia University, moral tips ought to immediate researchers and practitioners to acknowledge private accountability for the societal impacts of their improvements. Some have gone as far as to advocate for a set of ideas on the permissible makes use of and misuses of neurotechnology, adopted by the drafting of a consumer invoice of rights. However, technological frameworks, whereas a lot mentioned, have proved largely ineffectual when put into follow, even within the established fields of AI and information, which already form hundreds of thousands of lives. This is why Chile's debate is a landmark one, not simply in its personal jurisdiction however for the world. As new strides are made within the sector, and we face a state of affairs the place we expertise an added dimension of involuntary information uncovered and manipulated by means of novel strategies, we should have a look at the proof and expertise already afforded to us by means of the Fourth Industrial Revolution and defend our most basic human autonomy and civil liberties. The science of the sector stays primitive at current however has the potential to be extra dangerous than helpful, particularly if science continues to be blended with inaccurate sweeping claims. Before secure use may be advocated, we have to decrease false and unrealistic expectations about potential therapies. The regulatory debate is ongoing, however the fast introduction of disruptive applied sciences has meant that loads of information have already been accessed, with privateness misplaced and human habits exploited. Let us not make the identical errors with this new, albeit younger, sort of intrusive and manipulative expertise.